Hi there, everyone. Have a good morning. Sorry for the technical problems this morning. I'm by myself today. So, as you can see, Nick is not with me. And the guest that we had for today, he had a situation. He's unable to join us as well. So, who could predict that, right? But that stuff happens, and this is a new week. There's a lot of stuff happening here in prediction markets world. Thanks for joining me, and let me start to share with you what I'm looking for this week. So we had some news during the weekend, and I want to share with you guys some stuff that I'm looking at these last few days. Let's start sharing my screen here. Let's go to X, where all the movement is happening around prediction markets, and let's go. So go to Yoshi's post here. By the way, Yoshi's might join us this week, maybe on Thursday. Let's see. We have a few in this week. Tomorrow we are going to have Rex Tiago, and Nick will be back with me next week. Let's see here. First thing is Fireplace just shared they have now off Poly Market. So Fireplace has been teasing us with some posts the last few weeks. It seems that what they are building is a new front end for Poly Market. It seems that they are doing kind of a mobile app for Poly Market. So you will be able to access all Poly markets through Fireplace with something related to a kind of a social interface, something that seems pretty interesting. So it's still not clear for us what exactly they are building, but with this post here from yesterday, it seems that they are now part of Polymarket's plans to expansion. And right now you can secure your whitelist here. So let's see. So you can join their whitelist, their rate list, and you just need an email. That's it. By the way, don't forget to go to groovy.market as well and secure your username. It's already there. So something interesting as well is Polyfactual also teasing an early access to the platform. So Polyfactual, and if you don't know them, they are still early. So if you go to their page, there's not a lot of things about exactly what they are doing. But if you go to their main page here, it seems that they are integrating a way to fact check, not actually fact check, but basically to follow the news that are interesting for the top markets on both Cauchy and Poly markets. So if you open your position on Cauchy and Poly markets, you will be able to follow whatever news are coming up that will have potentially an impact of those markets here on Polyfactual. So more news that we get, we are going to share with you guys here. But if you go to polyfactual.com and go to projects, you will be able to get a little bit more information about their token. It's kind of a token gated project right now, so you can have some benefits by buying their token. And this is not an endorsement or anything like that, and do your own research. But basically, you can get more on Polyfactual here on their websites. And here on this account here, DGXYZ, you can get an information about an interview that they had with Polyfactual team, which is pretty interesting. Let me bookmark. We can go through this later this week as well. So, first thing that I want to share with you guys today is this post about Yoshi, and this is pretty cool because it talks to what we've been saying here in the show about the problem with market liquidity on prediction markets. So, think about market liquidity, about how easy it is to make a trade in any market. So, let me see. Okay, I just want to make sure that you guys are seeing my screen here. It doesn't seem so. Mm, let me just a moment here. Just want to make sure that okay, yeah, okay, yes. I'm just following here to make sure that you guys can see what I'm showing you. So basically, think about liquidity as how easy it is to make a trade in any market. So if there's a lot of money in that market, it means that even bigger trades can be filled without impacting the price of the market. So when we talk about markets, we want efficient markets, which means market that reflects the real price of the assets, the underlying assets, markets where anyone can go there and make a trade, and markets in this trade in which those trades can have size. So this is pretty important. So this is the problem related to liquidity. So as much money there is in the market, it means that more people can make their trades and they can make bigger trades without impacting those markets. So when we think about prediction markets, it means that what people are trading here are their predictions, are positions related to an occurrence or not of any kind of event. If we think about market movie, and are already about our closed system, they are the one created the markets. So about if you were Polymarket or Cauchy, and if you want to use your markets, what would you do? You wouldn't go to rich, not big markets. You go to the big markets because there's more in those, and since they providers mostly because they show liquidity on those markets, they are putting the money on the table. So you need to the money on those markets. You need to go to markets that you know is interest. So this is the situation. If you are a centralized who creates the market and you need to deposit money and you need to make sure that people is going to go there to trade, so there's enough money there to be traded without impacting those markets. But when you think about scaling that, imagine if anyone could be able to create their own market. So if you like sport or if you like culture, if you like movies, if you like, I don't know, mangas, whatever it is, and you want to engage your community or you want to engage your followers in the market that you create, how do you bring enough liquidity to that market so more people can join you and trade that market? So and this is something similar to what's being discussed here. Now we have this situation, the state of the art of what is liquidity. Let's go to, so basically he's saying that poly market has around 10,000 open markets, but only $300 of but only no it's yeah only 300 of those markets have more than 100,000 liquidity. So imagine from almost 10,000 markets, only $100,000 can be found in 300 markets. So it seems that most of the market, the huge majority of the markets are really small. So it means that if you want to trade anything on those markets, I mean, if you are going to make big moves, you are going to move those markets. And this is not good for prediction markets because Remember, the price of the shares, yes or no, they reflect the probability of something happen. If the price is not as close as possible to reality, or it doesn't reflect an accurate position. And remember, we here at the $1 show, we think about prediction markets as machines of truth. So we want to gather as accurate information as possible. So when he makes a comparison with DEX liquidity. So he says that we are still early because that liquidity is so huge. And so, for a matter of curiosity, I went to the Llama here, which is the reference for on-chain data. It's basically the Llama on and Dune analytics. But basically, on the Llama, you can see the TVL, which is the amount of money deposited on smart contracts related to DEX protocols, is $23 billion. And the last week, 7 day volume, which it means the amount of money that was traded, is around $90 billion. So it's $23 billion parked there as liquidity, providing almost $9 billion over a week in volume. So when we go to Polymarket Analytics, see, here is a little bit more updated data, which means that Polymarket has now 7,000 open markets, but total volume of Polymarket during the last when okay, this is actually the total volume from Polymarket. I mean, overall, it's under 900 million. So when we go to a DEX, only on the last week, all the DEXs together got 90 billion. See the difference of here. Here we are about 900 billion, and here we are talking about $9 billion on. When we compare interest and open interest has to do with TVL indexes. I mean, it's not a of course. Open interest is the amount of money on it's yes and no buying and sell orders. It can be related to the amount of money deposited on DEXs to provide liquidity. So on DEXs, we are talking about $23 billion, and on Polymarket we have 139 million. So it's only a fraction, and this is what Yoshi is highlighting here. So we are still early, and bigger market makers will soon need to start providing liquidity on Polymarket and Cauchy and whatever new prediction market comes out. So currently, it is still driven by liquidity incentives plus smart rails, of course. So basically, what Polymarket does when it provides incentives for whoever deposits liquidity is what they are saying, hey, bring park your money here because we believe that this is the market that's going to drive more users, and with more users they can generate more fees, and their chances to lose money by providing the initial liquidity to that market is reduced. So this is why they bring incentives to some markets. So what could happen? So if I had a guess, Polymark and Cauchy eventually will become base liquidity layers, similar to Uniswap and Radio. And this comes to what I just said here about not exactly polyfactual, but this that I'm going to highlight. Where is that? Damn, I lost that. Let me go to my notifications here because I got a tweet from them. Okay, so basically what Fireplace is doing that I mentioned here before. It seems that Fireplace is building a new front end from Polymarket. So basically, think about Polymarket and Cauchy as infrastructures, and anyone else could create a front end just to tap on Polymarket. And this is basically what's going on with Uniswap on Radium. Of course, you can fork Uniswap, you can fork Radium, and you can start a new DEX from scratch. But there's the same challenge. Where do you get your money from? Where do you get money to park there so new users can come, can make their trades, can make their swaps without moving the markets, without moving the prices? That because this is what worries. No one wants to make big moves on money, big trades, if you are going to impact because the market that much, because you can lose a lot of money there. And if we are thinking about prediction markets as efficient markets, price cannot move away from what is expected to happen in reality. So this is how we can improve prediction markets in a way that the biggest players, they can become actually liquidity providers infrastructure, or actually liquidity infrastructure. So what Yoshi is saying here in his thesis is that markets like Polymarket and Kalshi will attract professional market makers that will provide liquidity for the most popular markets. So long tail markets will still be driven by DGMs, and this is similar to the current DEX landscape as well. So majors are completely institution driven, and we will see sector specific trading terminals and apps that are optimized for their niche, like sports, politics. So basically, what he's saying here, we are going to have these big players providing liquidity to markets, or actually to areas on those markets, and we will have potentially different front ends for sports, politics, macro, because this is something that we've been witnessing here with prediction markets. So it's hard to find someone that is good on all the fronts, because there are so many different kinds of prediction markets and topics that you cannot have an edge on all. So we can see people trading mentions, we can see trading markets related to commodities, trade market politics, needs to hedge that you are trading. So some people are going to mostly crypto and prediction markets, and this makes this makes a lot of sense in a way that probably the big players, they are interested on the big, and they can use the liquidity price that they give incentives to the funds to these big markets. So probably in the near future we are going to see prediction markets, that is the infrastructure of prediction, way closer to what for that landscape. A lot of advantage to the biggest players. And what he concludes here is that really for major markets, for major of course, and Polymarket and Caution will become liquidity hubs, and customized front ends will be built on top of them, with focusing on optimized UX for each of these areas of expertise that people have, and that prediction markets actually feel like 2019. It seems so. We are seeing, as I show you guys here, Fireplace and Polyfactual and another. So last week we mentioned about Gondor, and how we are seeing already teams building tools that communicate with prediction markets. But of course, as he mentioned, we are still early, and this is something that we've keep been saying here. I don't want to keep repeating myself. So we are still early on this, and we will need to see a better infrastructure that allows prediction markets to communicate with another tools, so people can make like financial positions, and they can take more financial advantage from prediction markets, not only trading on prediction markets, but using their positions to get more efficiency from their money, from their assets. The only thing that I would highlight here is that, okay, the biggest players are going to become liquidity hubs unless we solve this liquidity issue. And what we are building at Groove is how we can decentralize the liquidity, how we can bring the small guy, how can we bring retail to participate and take advantage of these liquidity providing, even on small markets. Because okay, in big markets that everybody wants to trade, the incentives are already there. But how can we make this from small markets? And this comes to how to monetize this ultra niche knowledge. And shout out to Pix on Pain. So if you don't follow Yoshi right now, so it's fact check one in turn. Make sure to follow his profile. He's a pretty good account. He's been sharing good content about prediction markets, and the same with Pix. It's Pix on chain. So last week he was talking about how monetizing ultra niche knowledge, and he basically he tends to believe that prediction markets can be the the vehicle to do that, and this is what we believe at Groovy as well. So how can you create an infrastructure of prediction markets that even the small guy, even the person who likes something that's considered really even awkward, can monetize their knowledge and can engage their followers to do that. So let's go through the article here and highlight what are the best topics here. So most people underestimate how much they know that no one else. So I know the dynamics of Korean baseball because I lived in Seoul for a year. You happen to follow a junior studio executive on leather boxed who casually mentions early test screening went badly. So you can tell when a small cap biotech trials is stalling because you're working in labs. So individually, these factors don't seem valuable. So they're too small, too specific. You can't start a company around it, and you can't sell them as a product or service because I mean, no one actually care for that, right? So the world has no obvious place for them until prediction markets. So prediction markets are the first system that makes ultra niche knowledge liquid. So if you are on one of the few people who know something obscure before the rest of the world catches up, so you can turn that knowledge into money. And this is what we were discussing last Thursday about how insiders can benefit prediction markets, or how prediction markets could benefit from insiders trading here. Um, so if you're one of the few people who knows something obscure before the rest of the world gets up, you can turn that knowledge into money, and not by starting a newsletter or convincing investors, but just by showing up and trading, or in the case of Groovy, by creating your markets. So that changes the incentive. So suddenly the long tail of knowledge matters. You don't need to be a macro genius. So you can profit from knowing the rainfall in a certain region of India, or from knowing which theaters are adding late nights is screenings. That's the thing. So how can you take advantage of your knowledge? And it could be both for trade in a specific market, or to start your own market and to engage the people who are interested by that specific topic, that specific area, or the specific information, how people can contest that. So distillation and more specific, the better, because it means you have an edge. I mean, as more specific is your information, is the better your edge here. So this has two effects. First, it rewards curiosity. So you no longer have to ignore the weird corners of the world you're interested in because they won't be useful, because now we can create utility for that. And second, it makes markets themselves smarter, and I would say more efficient. Every obscure fact that used to sit idle in someone's head can now flow into prices. So it's not crazy to think prediction markets could end up being the most efficient way humans ever found to gather knowledge. And of course, yeah, this is what we've been saying. I mean, to use prediction markets as truth machines, and think about the money, the underlying money on prediction markets, as these incentives to gather this collective knowledge, this collective wisdom. And of course, this this just corroborates what we were talking last week about. If you have inside information, or if you are an insider of any industry or subculture or wherever, prediction markets can help you both to monetize that information that you have, and of course to bring this information to the table, even even though other people can contest them. And so we could use that as a better tool to to source reality, and to source actually the information that is vital to try and predict the outcome of any event. And of course to get prediction marks that are efficient and accurate, accurate and with their outcome, because this is what we are going to need for prediction markets, both liquidity, so a lot of people can participate and people with size can participate, so we know their incentives are there. So if you are trading a market with size, that means that your incentives are way bigger to put on the table the correct information, and of course how accurate that information is regarding to the outcome. That's the two main focus of prediction markets. So all the fragments people thought were useless, all the obsessions they thought were hobbies, suddenly become signals. So the long tail is where most of the knowledge is, and prediction markets, they finally give it a price. Yes, of course, I mean this is the end goal for prediction markets. And moving forward, this and talking about how prediction markets can be so powerful, and how people are already building new interfaces about that. It's how Flipperbot is building a kind of an interface that allows you to play with poly market and Cauchy markets, analyzing those markets just like Polyfactual and Fireplace are doing. They are actually integrating existing markets to an interface that allows you to follow the markets that you have open positions on and to trade with leverage. So it is still not clear how it works because their documentation is not ready so far, but we are keeping an eye on them. And it shows how much interest there is in prediction markets lately, and how we could be kind of witnessing what's the next big thing on crypto, and something that extrapolates crypto actually. And let's move to this last topic that I would like to talk to you guys today is, so Sanil is talking about hyper speculation. So we've been witnessing in crypto, and we discussed this here, how people can treat it crypto as, okay, is an speculative asset, and how the best use case that we've got for crypto so far is speculation. So people were speculating on Bitcoin, and then people started to speculate on altcoins, NFTs, meme coins, and now how prediction markets could become a tool to potentialize these speculations. Just how we were discussing right now. You can speculate with size, or you can speculate in niche information. But basically, as soon as we are able to transfer the power of creating markets to the end user, dude, we can scale this to, I mean, there's no limits to escalation. How people can use prediction markets to gather information about any topic, and how anyone could speculate on those markets, on those topics. Basically, what this guy is talking here is, how about we are witnessing hyper speculation. So what he says here, and it starts with a question, is what happens when the greatest game ever played meets infinite intelligence, and it's hyper speculation. So the greatest game ever played here for him is speculation. This is the game. And when he talks about infinite intelligence, it's of course AI. And there's this huge discussion. I was watching some videos during this weekend, how we are about to witness potentially a crisis in the energy industry, because the demand for energy is so big that in the next 5 to 10 years we cannot measure the amount of energy will be needed, and we are not ready to provide that amount of energy to run the data centers that are going to be providing this infrastructure to the AI, and how big it is going. So basically, and bringing this conversation here to prediction market is, imagine if anyone by just typing a command just like we do on ChatGPT, on Gemini, or whatever your favorite AI companion. Imagine if you, just by typing something, you could spin up a market. This AI that would be able to spin up a market would be able to resolve the markets. It could be with Oracle's APIs or whatever other infrastructure used, and anyone would be able to just place orders on any market that already exists. So we are talking way, way, way forward here. Imagine that for if we compare these to layer twos, we understand that liquidity is broken on layer twos. We are right now for Ethereum layer twos. People are trying to discuss how can we integrate an infrastructure that any position that you have on layer twos can be kind of traded that there is this interoperability between layer twos, that you can trade any positions between any chain, so it doesn't matter what chain you have assets on. And imagine if you have a prediction and it doesn't matter where that market was created. It was on Cauchy, on Polymarket, on Groovy, or whatever. You just type what you want to trade and say, oh, I think it's going to rain in New York today in the next 3 hours. And then if there's a market created for that, your position will be placed there. And if there's not a market for that, AI could suddenly spin up that market, create that market, and gather with the system that we are creating on Groovy. It will be able to gather users to provide the initial liquidity. After the deadline, the market will be resolved, and whoever had played during that market would have their positions fulfilled. In the end, money of the market would be distributed. And what I mean, it seems that I'm looking for the Terminator. It's a future where anything could happen, but it's amazing. I mean, if we see that, but I think we are really, really, really far from that situation. So right now, for AI agents in crypto, I mean, it's already hard to get an AI agent doing your basic stuff. We are seeing some projects working on that, but I mean, it is still hard to spin up a wallet only typing words. And imagine deposit your money there and having an AI companion just running your wallet for you, saying, hey, transfer X amount of Y token to that person, or deposit 100 USDC or USDT, or 100 say to that protocol. I mean, that will be the end game for the final user with wallets. So AI kind of substituting you clicking on wallets and approving transactions. That will be the end game for wallets and crypto using AI. We are quite far from that. Hopefully not, but I think we still are. And after that, it will be doing the same, but with prediction markets. So that will be the end game, and that will be the hyper speculation. How to put together the greatest game, which is speculation, with the infinite intelligence, which which AI provides. I mean, it's not still infinite, but I mean, we might see an infinite intelligence there for AI. As I said, I mean, we are seeing evolution quite far on this field, and I think that in the next couple years we are going to see these things unfolding even faster. And let's see what we have here for you guys today. Okay, I think that was it that I had for you today. Tomorrow I will have a guest here. His name is Zero X Tiago. He's a researcher and an analyst in crypto. He's from Latam as well, just as me, and he's has been around for a while in crypto. He has been participating in multiple cycles, and we are going to get his mind about what's going on with prediction markets. And so I'm Diego. Thanks for staying with me. Make sure to follow Groovy Market. Tomorrow we will be back. We've been running this live stream 4 days a week from Monday to Thursday. We are going to have a couple of more guests here this week, and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter, the daily prediction, and make sure to follow us here on X, and to join me tomorrow. If you want to participate on the show, or if you want to contribute to the newsletter, send me a message. You can send me a message here, or you can send us a message at Groovy Market on X. And that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye. Have a good one.